This team is gonna be the death of me.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Woo! Hey there, what's up? It's Saturday, January 11th, 2025. Welcome into this live postcast edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shane, joined by our good buddy, Mark Campbell. Woo! Mark, MC, crazy stuff. You're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making this your first listener watch post-game, and a special shout out to all the everydayers, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our great insiders. This postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better. With FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Mark, here we go again. Another one-possession game for Carolina. The Heels win 63-61. They're now 11-6 on the season. It doesn't really feel like it, but they're now 4-1 in ACC play. This is a quad 2 win for the Tar Heels, and thankfully this is a celebration postcast and not one of our therapy sessions. We will take it. If you're new to these, here's what we do. We're going to just give you a whole bunch of big picture takeaways from this game, some nitty-gritty things. We'll get down into the details. If you're not familiar with Mark Campbell, he is a national champion from the University of North Carolina. He's an NBA shooting coach. This dude sees and dissects basketball in ways most people have never dreamed of, and so get ready just for all of Mark's great insights. By the way, you should make sure to go check out his Substack. The link for that is in the show notes, where you can get all of his posts coming to you. They come straight to my email inbox, and it makes me a smarter basketball fan. You should do the same. Mark Campbell. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, but there's nowhere else we can start than Jalen Washington. Carolina front court, much maligned this season. Jaylen Washington has had some very strong moments, has had some, quite frankly, very weak moments where it's like, dude, just grab the basketball or go strong to the hoop. But this game, first career double-double, first time, in fact, getting the double-digit rebounds, 11 points, 12 boards, including the go-ahead dunk with 20-ish seconds left, the game-sealing block, giving him now 12 blocks in the last 3 games after just 9 blocks in the first 14 games combined. Mark Campbell, is he turning a corner?
Well, somebody had to get the rebounds. There's 78 rebounds to be had. Somebody was going to get them. So, like, if there was a day to get double-digit rebounds, it was today. But honestly, it was really nice to see him battle back, because the first half, the beginning of the second half, like, it would have been really easy for him to shell up and to woe is me and to kind of get introverted on that stuff. But like, he didn't. He stayed engaged. And when it was time to make the biggest plays, like, he was there. He was always mentally locked in. And it was awesome to see him kind of have, I would say, his first real signature moment as a Tar Heel.
That's a great way to put it, too. It's like, he's got, at some point, somebody had to put a stamp on this front court or take control of it. And not only does he do that for his career, but like, I feel like we've just been seeing him slowly tick up the last 3, 4, 5-ish games. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right, man. That's such a good way to put it, that this is the moment where it's time for, like, Coach Davis or RJ or somebody to sit down by his locker and say, I need that every single week. Right. And so what is that moment like in a locker room? First off, just like, take us inside what this kind of celebration is like before we even get to that conversation.
They're definitely gonna be pumped up. I think losing at NC State probably is like the worst loss you can have. Losing at Duke isn't as bad as losing at State. Like,
what? Why? Say more.
There's something about NC State where it's like the noise that surrounds it, and the idea that they are an equal or a rival in terms of, you know, on the level of how you measure yourself is just, it's asinine. So losing at State is the absolute worst. But like, losing to Duke, like, you're measuring yourself. Like, that's, you know, best on best. Losing to State is like, you just lost to a G League team. You can't do that.
That makes a ton of sense. I appreciate that. Okay, so when Jalen has a showing like this, what's the follow-up conversation like from the coaching staff or from your peers?
It's so cool. I think when I would talk with clients and they would have, like, in the NBA, like, a big breakout game, call it a matrix moment. like Neo from the Matrix when all the
Yes.
bullets are shooting at him and he stops them. It's like he realizes like, oh, I'm past this. Like I can evolve. Like there's a new version of me. And I think this type of game, like especially the last couple big plays, he had a great, pocket pass out to Ian for a 3. He had the big dunk, big block. So like I think those are big Matrix moments where you can be like, okay, like this is the version of you that we need moving forward. And like, we've seen it now. So like we know it's there. Like let that rip all the time. Like this is the standard you're going to be held to. And I think there's a lot of confidence that he can take from that now he's shown it. And now like his teammates are saying like, we need this from you. And we've seen this from you.
I'm so glad you brought up that pass because that was, he had the dunk, Carolina's last bucket.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that pass from Elliot, I don't know how he got that like awkwardly over his shoulder, but he did. But let's talk about that pass you just mentioned because Jaylen Washington was open enough to take that shot. But the wherewithal that he had to see, because I think Ian was technically like behind him, kind of off to his side over right in front of the bench, to see him and recognize like, best player, best shooter, like that's a change from, was it the Louisville game where Carolina's final 3 possessions where they had chances to get that win, Ian literally never touched the ball. So the wherewithal to not only kick that out, but to who right now is your most dynamic offensive player, like is that a progression as well in his game?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like the first 2 plays of the game, like he got it in the short roll, like State was playing up at the level on screen. So up at the level, they're getting the ball out of the ball handler's hand. Like he had the ball playing 4-on-3, 3-on-2 on the backside. And like the first time didn't press it in the hole hard enough, like kick out. But yes, it wasn't an open shot. The next time pressed it too far down, like turnover. So to see him on the last kind of big pocket pass that he got, feel okay, like we're in a one eye. There's only one help defender. Like he has come to me. That means ball needs to go opposite. Like to see him make that progression, even though he had a few bad reads in the first half, turnovers, like that's a real Matrix moment. Like that's one of those where you take that and you keep building. That's a stepping stone. So that was a huge play to me. And yes, Ian's been absolutely dynamic. I don't know where they'd be without Ian right now.
Dude, that's so okay. And that's where we got to go next. It's funny. I was just talking yesterday because there's this kind of momentum change in Caleb Wilson's recruitment. I don't know if you followed it at all, Mark, but it's down to basically Carolina and Kentucky. It's been assumed that he's a Kentucky lead, but some news came out Thursday that tide might be changing. Funny enough, let's remember Ian Jackson, literally until the morning of his commitment, we thought he was going to Kentucky. It flipped that day. He came to Carolina. And to your point, where would this team be without him? Let's talk about Ian, Mark, who now in his last 6 games has scored 18 or more points. 5 of those 6 games has 20 or more points, including in this game. Did he finish? Was it 21? All said and done, 21 points, 8 of 15, 5 of 8 from 3. Mark, this dude now is up to 42.7% from 3. Just talk about what you're seeing in Ian Jackson's progression last 5-6 games.
Well, I think he's every single game, like it's confidence just building. But and it's not that he wasn't a confident player. He was always a confident player. Like he didn't see a shot that he didn't like he was getting him up. But there's something about when he was scoring and even playing at the beginning of the year, he was running just so fast. Like there's a saying about playing at the red line, like in your car, like if you're always at the red line, like it's very difficult to change the speed levels, direction, like all this stuff. But you've seen him in the past 6 games. Like he's moved it way more to the middle. Like he is in this nice white zone. He is playing like very dynamic basketball in terms of his movement, whether it's attacking in transition, spot ups in the half court, isolations in the half court. Like he's got every little pocket going. And I think last time we talked might have been the UCLA game. And it's just to that point, it had only been, if it was Ian, it was real ISO Ian. But now he's getting it in very different spots. He's playing off different actions, and he's consistently playing crisp basketball. Very, very efficient with dribbles now.
That's so, dude, some of his finishes at the rim, I mean, it's just like, bro.
He's dynamic.
And I think it's something, because you so often talk about you would rather see somebody go like, I'll just throw out like 0 of 8 from 3 than 1 of 2, right? And what I love about Ian, and something I've kind of taken to heart of saying kind of in that same vein, is I love Ian's lack of conscience. Like he's going to pull whether he's 0 of 8 or 3 of 3. And it seems like a lot of his teammates don't have that same thing, right?
No, well, with Ian, like one thing that's very simple for him right now. I don't know what his assist numbers are for the year or his assist to turnover,
It's
but
low.
like
It's low.
his role is very, very specific and very simple, and what the team needs right now. They need buckets. Please go get buckets. Like, we don't need you to set up stuff. We need you to be a play finisher, not a playmaker. And so I think it just lines perfectly into what his game is and his role on the team. Like, play finisher, do not play make. That's not what we need. You're a play finisher, and that's what he is. Like, he's a bucket getter through and through.
It is something fun and something very special to watch. We will take that for sure. Mark, we got a lot more to talk about, obviously, as we unpack this game, including this team giving us heart attacks. Why can't they get a big lead, push it out, or maintain it, or things like that? We got to have that conversation. Also, is the rotation shortening? Just 8 guys played in this game. We'll talk about all that and more in just a second. Right after I tell you about our very good friends at TurboTax. Man, it's that time of year. I got to start getting my W-2s together, figure this whole thing out. And if you're tired of the endless waiting and wondering and worrying about your taxes, man, that's the thing of the past thanks to Intuit TurboTax. You see, taxes, they don't have to be complicated or stressful because TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions. That would be me if I was doing it myself. So whether you got one form or 20, the TurboTax experts give your taxes their undivided attention. You don't have to lift a finger, but you'll have the peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by the pros. So if you're ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back, head over to TurboTax.com and get matched with your expert who's ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on everything else your day, like watching this basketball game. The only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app, and see guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. All right, Mark Campbell, Isaac Shade here with you post-game following North Carolina's 63-61 over NC State. And Mark, that's where we got to go to next. This team, my man, is going to give me a heart attack at 40 years of age. I'm too young of a man to have this many palpitations, although I feel very old. Each day is a struggle at this point. I'm creaky, and it's a thing.
That's what happens when it gets cold. It creeps up on you. Creeps up on you.
Oh, man. I'm old. I'm cold. There's snow on the ground. It's a whole thing. But, Mark, why is it that this team, who will make some surges, got a 9-point lead right at the beginning of the second half, had another 9-point lead, midway through the second half, and was like, okay, let's push this out to 15, have a comfortable victory on the road. Why can't this team get ahead and stay ahead?
Man, I don't know. We were texting during it, and there was a point that they were up 8 or 7, whatever it was. And I was like, State is very bad. Like, this should be a 15-point win. Like, all good. What time do you want to do this? All this other stuff. But like, there's something about us that feels like we're never injecting or imposing our will on the game. Like, we don't ever feel like we take the game in a chokehold and we're just like, this is how it's going to go. And our ball pressure is good, like on defense, our offense is fine sometimes, but there's something about we don't really get out into transition. We don't get stops at the right times. Like, there's those moments where it feels like you can really kick the door open and put a team down, or at least put it out of reach in terms of like, it's going to be a really, tight contest. And those moments, I always feel like we never really hit first in those moments. We always give a few buckets up and then it kind of goes out. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating to not see us like impose our will on the game in those moments.
And you were part of many teams that did do that. And so I say that to say, also, I put up on the screen for those watching on YouTube, Michael Daniels' first comment in the entire stream. Well, we won.
It's much better to do this after a win than a loss, but like these aren't good teams. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, we're not watching them play good teams. I really want to see what we look like against a good team. And I don't know the first time we see a good team, like a true good team, maybe it's Duke, but like, I really want to see us play a good team because we're not playing good teams now. Yeah. And it feels like we're either playing down to our competition or we're just not a good team. And I'm not sure which one that is.
And to your point, I don't know when we're going to find out, because like Pitt lost again today. They lost at home to Louisville. Maybe Louisville's actually a good team. They're 5-1, I think, in ACC. Only losses to Duke. So yeah, Mark, that's a great point. Who knows what's going on with there? Okay, here's my next question for us to look at. The rotation only had 8 guys play. I feel like most games we've seen 9 or 10. There was no Ty Claude in this game. There was no Cade Tyson in this game, which reminds me to bring up Kenneth Green, one of the first couple comments in the chat. This is dirty and vicious, but Kenneth says Cade Tyson is shooting 100% in the last 2 games. He has not missed a shot. Kenneth, factual statement. Well played. And James Brown, who had been playing a couple first half minutes, the last couple did not get in. So the 5 starters plus Seth Trimble, Van Allen Lubin, and Jalen Withers are your only 3 to play. And by the way, only 8 to play. And Jalen Withers only played 4 minutes. So really it was a 7-man rotation, Mark.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a shortening of the rotation or just a one-off for this rivalry game?
No, I think this is something that Hubert's done almost every year. I think the year that they went to the national championship game, it started around like the Wake Forest game. If I remember correctly, I don't know when it was, but like he went to like a 7-man rotation or something like that. He's pretty historical of he's going to play guys to start the year, see what's what. And then he really gets into a tighter rotation when it gets into ACC play, especially going towards like the middle of it. So I think this is what you could see moving forward. And mainly the thing is, nobody has shown that they really deserve minutes other than the guys that are playing. I mean, we talked about it almost with Florida, UCLA, all these ones. Like, you have to take the minutes. None of these guys were established players. Like, it's going to be one of those where, like, whoever establishes themselves of, like, these are my minutes. And even if I have a rough stretch, I've shown enough that, like, I'm going to keep consistently getting them. Nobody else has really done that. You can't really say that Cade Tyson really needs to be in there. Like, he hasn't shown that he needs to be playing minutes. And Withers has had really up and down play. I'm sure that they're going to need him at times. So I could see him being a breaking case of emergency guy. But, you know, nobody else really sticks out of like, oh man, I'm really up in arms that like they didn't play today.
Yeah. And with like Van Allen Lubin today had a nice play or 2 here or there, had 9 boards, but like, I felt like, man, he was just getting the ball taken away from him in rebounding action, which is kind of where I want to go to next, actually, is, as you mentioned, this game had 78 combined rebounds, but my goodness, NC State had 12 offensive rebounds in the first half. They finished with 16, so Carolina curtailed that some in the second half. Somehow the Tar Heels won the overall rebounding battle. But Mark, a thing that I thought early in this game is that Carolina was not ready for the toughness of this fight out of the gate. I thought the refs were having not a bad game, but just were letting it be pretty physical, some handsiness, not calling that ticky-tack stuff. And I don't think, particularly in the rebounding action, that the Tar Heels were up to that challenge early. Did they do better, or did they just kind of win in spite of that?
I don't know. Honestly, I wish I had a more intelligent answer, but like sometimes even watching the rebounds, like there were so many bad shots that like balls were hitting the backboard and then smacking people in the face. Like it was ugly basketball to start. It truly was. To me, the Van Allen Lubin thing that we just talked about, like I think he's got to play, but he's got to play better. The short roll stuff, like he's got to play better. It's truly not complicated stuff. Like these are reads that, you know, Middlebrook was up at the level of ball screens and so many times to start the game. Like RJ demands that you come out. We had Van Allen Lubin and Washington in 10, 15 feet of space where they get the ball and they're terrified to take a dribble going towards the basket. And then when they mess it up the next time, they take too many dribbles and they're like, oh, I got to do it. It's just one of those things where it feels like our guys are really trying to hit home run plays or trying not to mess up. And we need to find that middle ground other than really 4 guys, you know, Cadeau, Davis, Powell, and Jackson. They really feel like set in, we're going to play 30 minutes and we're going to do the things that we need to do and that we can do, you know, within our skill set. But everybody else feels like you're either swinging for the fences or you're trying not to mess up. And those two are really bad places to be when you're playing basketball. Like you've got to be in the middle where you're just hitting singles over and over again. And then the home runs open up. And to me, like those plays, those are the ones that keep you on the floor. And then everything else, like the physicality and all these things, they just fall in line because you're not playing from behind. when you're playing from behind the play, like one step behind, then you get out physical. Then you look like you're off balance. But I think all that comes from everybody that's not those four guys trying to either hit home runs or not mess up.
Yeah. Speaking of not playing from behind, let's talk about that from a margin of the game. Carolina, now for the third straight game, does not experience an 8-point or greater deficit against a high major opponent after having that against literally every high major opponent they've played. I think that speaks to now having Ian Jackson in the starting lineup, getting out and running. Things are out to a better start. Carolina had as much as it was either 7 or 9 point lead. I think 7 was the biggest in the first half, which means they've had, the previous 2 games, they had held double-digit first half leads. So I think Carolina might be starting to turn the corner on that. We need to keep watching it. Part of it,
do you think that's quality of opponents or Carolina turning the corner?
I think it's more quality of opponent.
Okay.
Although SMU is, I think, the best of the 3 teams. I don't know. With Marcus Burton back, Notre Dame might be the best of those 3 teams.
Well, we didn't really look particularly good at Notre Dame.
No, exactly. And to your point, I think that is more about opponent than Carolina turning the corner on it.
Yeah. Okay. Because I didn't watch the SMU game, but I watched all the other ones, and none of these teams really, strike me as even close to the quality of the high major teams we played out of conference. Like, those are quality teams. Yeah. Those were really good measuring sticks for us to decide, like, what do we need to work on when the chips are down? Like, what do we need to polish up? What do we need to lean into? And I think, like, as we've seen, like, the start of ACC play, nobody's really stood out besides Louisville of being like, they kind of know what they're doing. Like, they have good solutions to things. Like, they have a very clear, like, this is what we're going to run. This is what we're going to try to take you out of. Like, everything seems very, like, helter skelter, or, not that we're a high level, like we're a team that's going to compete for a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 or Final Four, something like that. Whereas we saw those teams earlier and we didn't really measure up that great.
That's a great point, Mark, to be very fair. Guys, we got several more talking points we're going to get to. So I want to get to our next ad read. I don't think we'll be able to get to the comment section today because I want to make sure to get through all of these with Mark while he's with us. So we're going to get into next talking about Carolina's 3-point shooting. Seth Trimble still coming back from his injury, looking a little rusty right now. Some assist numbers, great numbers for Carolina in this one. And the defense, for the second game in a row, holds a team to their lowest scoring output of any half this season. All that coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about our good friends at FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets. Guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. ACC regular season champion odds, of course, Duke leads the way. They're minus 750, followed by Clemson at plus 1,000, and then the Tar Heels at plus 2,000. If you want to get in on any of this action, check it all out at FanDuel.com to join today and get started again with $200 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. Oh, Mark says, yes, you ready to go? Mark says he's in the comments. He's ready to go. I love it. Where did you want to go with that, Mark?
Oh, no. I was actually talking off to you of saying, but I did just see somebody say that they would love to see Tyler Nickel as a junior in UNC, Bellboy 23. And it made me die laughing on the inside because the fact that somebody's wheeling back to like, man, you know what we might need? We might need Tyler Nickel right now isn't really a good sign of what they think of our team.
That's a good point.
Like that's not a real big like indicator of we feel great about where the Heels are at.
Man, yes, I feel that.
Shout out Tyler Nickel.
I apologize for misunderstanding your text. You guys, one thing we haven't noticed or talked about is Elliot Cadeau finishes this game with 10 assists, 3 turnovers. It's his third double-digit assist game of his career. The others were the Campbell game earlier this year and the Tennessee game last year where Carolina dropped 100 on Rick Barnes and his vaunted defense. Take that while gosh, they were just trying to do everything they could with Dalton Connect. Oh, no, it's actually been upped in real time to 11 assists. They must have shorted him one. So 11 assists, 3 turnovers for Elliot Cadeau. Didn't have a good shooting day, but Carolina as a team, Mark, 17 assists on 26 made baskets. That's a really good number. And the Tar Heels actually have gone up in their assist percentage. Are you encouraged to see that number ticking up, which it's typically been under 50% in the Hubert Davis era?
Yeah, I think it's nice to see Elliot have a good game. I don't think he had a great game, but it's nice to see him have a good game.
Solid.
Whenever he can get out in transition or off a miss and be able to get downhill and get in the lane, that's where he's at his best. Anytime it's in the half court and it's really compressed and teams are kind of daring him to shoot a little bit, like that gets a little bit stickier for him. But I love seeing him get out in transition. He's wonderful when he gets downhill and draws a secondary defender, whether it's kicking out or dump downs in the dunker to the big or anything like that. He just really does a nice job of making the game easier for people when the game is stretched open. When it's compressed, it's tough for him to do that. But when it's stretched open, he does a wonderful job of making the game easier for people.
Man, and had a couple nice skip passes over the top. I remember one in particular to Ian for a 3. And just good at seeing some of that stuff.
What I loved, like one thing that was a big adjustment from Hubert at halftime was State was, I was talking about this earlier, State was playing up at the level on ball screen. So they were bringing the secondary defender, the big up to the level of the screen and trying to put 2 on the ball early. And early in the game, we were going pocket pass on everything, pocket pass to try to play 4-on-3 or 3-on-2. And one thing we did in the second half after having a few turnovers is, and this is definitely like Hubert based, because you don't make this switch as a player without, talking about it. We went way more of, instead of going pocket pass, we went hit outs to the wings or skips, and then either went for passes on the big diving or shots. And I think that was a big deal because it's easier for our wings to catch and make good decisions than our bigs to catch and make good decisions. And so to me, Elliot did a great job of whether going strong side and then letting another person hit the big on a dive, or skipping it and going weak side and going threes, depending on where low man help was coming from in the pick and rolls. I thought that was probably one of the nicest things I saw in terms of A, schematic adjustments, and then B, execution from the players.
Man, I love that, Mark. That's good. I want to talk about Seth Trimble. Obviously still rusty coming back from his injury, right? No points Wednesday against SMU. Took a long time before he scored in this game. Finally got 2 buckets, 4 total points. Had a nice steal and run out dunk, and then finished another one in transition off a little dump off from RJ, if I remember correctly what that other one was. And yes, his scoring is not jumping off the page, but my question to you, in the 2 losses before he came back at Louisville, Chucky Hepburn just ate up Carolina, that I think he still would have gotten some, but Seth would have slowed him down. And then in the next game after that, the win at Notre Dame, obviously Marcus Burton coming back hurt, but Seth probably would have been able to slow him down. To your eyeballs, while Seth's offense is rusty coming back, where's his defense at? And Derek Tyson in the chat, let me just put it in this way, says Seth's stats won't pop out at you, but his defense and 2 fast break dunks were huge plays in this game. What are you seeing, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about the rotation. I don't know how many minutes he played, but like if we're playing 7 guys and he's one of them, to miss his minutes, that's 30 minutes or 25 minutes. Like that really puts like lower quality on the floor. So I think first off, like you just have a guy who at least knows exactly what he's doing, can play defense, knows what rotations he's supposed to be in, and is a high level athlete. The more high level athletes you get on the floor, like he has some real pop to him. I think that's a good thing. So his defense was great as always. I think I'd love to see him look at the basket more. He had to travel on a closeout where like it was a pretty obvious shot. So I'd love to see him look at the basket, but he also had the drive in the corner. I think it was 44, 42. He had a drive baseline left corner. We had swing, and it was an RJ3. I think that was one of like our better plays of the day. And so like stuff like that, the steal transit, he has those explosive plays. He's such a high level athlete. So getting him on the court is big, because if he's not on the court, then those minutes are going to Withers, or those minutes are going to somebody else. So to me, that's like the biggest deal. And then everything's gravy after that.
Yeah. Mark, one of the things you've talked a lot about is math in basketball, and how this is groundbreaking news, folks. 3 is more than 2, if you're unaware of that. And to that point, both teams struggled mightily out of the gate. I think Carolina started 0 of 5 from 3, NC State 0 of 8 from 3. Those troubles continued on for the Wolfpack, 3 of 19, that's 15.8%. And the Tar Heels finished 7 of 19. So both teams took the exact same amount of three-pointers. Carolina was +4 in made threes, which is plus 12 in points. Obviously, 5 of those coming from Ian Jackson by himself, with 1 each to RJ and to Drake Powell. And that, look, Mark, that might not seem like much after the slow start. That's 36.8%. Is that a number you can live with from a team that's shooting 32% from 3 on the season?
Sure. 36 is fine. Hey, that's good. Yeah. No, truly, it's good. And like losing the math battle every single night, like we were against high majors, it's the 3-point line and the turnovers. Like if you lose the math battle from the start, it makes it really difficult to win in today's game. Now, like 20 years ago, there was a lot more inside play. 15 years ago, ton more inside play, but like that doesn't exist anymore. Like you have to be able to at least hold to the level of, the water on the math battle. And if you're consistently starting behind the 8 ball, then it makes it really difficult to make really good plays that are going to win the game because the margin for error is so small.
Yeah. Mark, one of the things I was looking at actually is it felt like it in real time, and box score says it's true. Carolina not getting to the free throw line much in this game, and a team that really depends on it. Just 8 free throws, only hit 4 of them, and a big part of that is because it's not the usual suspects getting to the line. Drake Powell 1 for 2, Jalen Washington 3 of 4, Van Allen Lubin 0 of 2, meaning none for Elliot Cadeau, none for RJ Davis, none for Ian Jackson, none for Seth Trimble. That is not a recipe for success.
No, that doesn't sound good. We actually, I want to ask you about our shooting. My one of my old teammates, Danny Green, and I are pretty close, and we play this game quite a bit through text. We've done a few pods together. We play this game where it's like, if your life was on the line, who would I pick to shoot a 3-pointer to save your life? Oh, so God. If my life was on the line, and it was, I'll give you 3 Carolina guys, Powell, Cadeau, and Trimble. Who would you pick to shoot a 3-pointer to save my life?
Powell, Cadeau, and Trimble?
Yeah, who would you pick? Who would you put my life on the line with?
Not Elliot. Is it this Seth Trimble, or is it like pre-injury Seth Trimble?
He's the human Seth Trimble that walks out to the 3-point line right now. You don't get to pick a version of him. Just who are you betting my life on right now?
Today, Drake.
Okay, so Drake Powell is going to shoot for my life. Okay, fair.
Of that trio.
That's one of those things when we talk about like the math battle and shooting, like there's a lot of places on our roster where you can be like, all right, go ahead. And so like 1, that matters for shooting, and 2, it matters for free throws, because if you don't have to run out and you don't have to extend the defensive shell, it makes driving lanes really tough to get into. And so like, it really feels like we're only getting, into driving lanes when we're running really hard off a steal, off a long rebound. And so the shooting factor, not only from threes, but like that affects the free throws. And so, it's a fun game to play, like not really fun if he missed it, but it's just one of those things where it just feels like we're having trouble doing those things. And it really breeds from our lack of shooting and our lack of confidence in even watching our guys shoot.
Yeah. That question feels very Squid Gamey to me. I don't like putting your life in my choice of a shooter's hands. That's scary. That
was mild. Our texts get way crazier than that.
Okay, I need to hear more offline about that.
We'll put you in specific shots. Like you have to be at like the corner of half court, with 0.2 seconds left. Like, who do you pick? We get diabolical with that question.
Oh man, that's dirty. Also, I saw a couple people in the chat saying the refs missed a inbound travel on Dontrez Styles. I missed this in real time. Mark, we'll have to go back and watch it, but it sounds like on a blob, maybe after a made bucket or something. So, or it couldn't be made bucket because that wouldn't be a travel. Anyway, I'm curious to get back and see that. Mark, I want to get to 2 other things. It's 2 personal questions, one for you, one for me, and I think is a hilarious way to wrap up the show. Okay. All right, so here we go. The first one, comes, if I can find it, from Jonathan Fox. I've actually sat at a Bojangles with Jonathan Fox in Chapel Hill, or maybe it was in Raleigh, close to the airport. This Jay Fox is a good dude, but he says, finally, I made it to a live that Mark was on. Okay, so Mark, do you feel left out that your squad never had a cool nickname a la Blue Steel or Biscuit Boys? Or did y'all have a name and we just don't know it?
No. I don't think we had a name. I actually crossed over to a few different squads. My run went with a few of them while I was there. So I don't think that any of them that I was a part of ever had a name. There was one year where I was just with my guy, Surrey Wood. Yes. There was another year where I was with JB, Jack, and Pat Moody. And then there was another one where I was with a few other guys. So I had like a few different iterations of the group. So no, we didn't really have a name. I didn't have one. I mean, Roy had some names for me, but none of them were good. Yeah. No, sorry, Jonathan. I wish I had a better answer.
No, that's good enough. Roy had other nicknames for me. Yeah. Is all I needed. Yeah. And then finally, this one's for me. This is from Alex Jacosin, who's checking in, by the way, from Hawaii. Said aloha from Hawaii. Isaac, what hair products do you use because the curls are curling? Look, I actually don't use much. God has afflicted me with this hair, and so I just deal with it. I do use this little curl cream. It's called like Not Your Mother's Curl Cream or something. I don't know, Mark. It's a whole thing. What do you use hair product? What do you put in?
I go with some product that my wife got me. I don't make those decisions. That's above my pay grade. She has decided that this is the one that works best. This is when you put the product in, and this is how it looks like. So, I'm very good at following instructions.
That's brilliant. Yeah. All right, Mark, look, I know you said you got a couple minutes left. So what I want to do actually is take a little bit of a look forward, because now Carolina, as we said, sitting here 4-1 in ACC play. And interestingly, coming up next, the Tar Heels welcome the two new California schools to the Dean Dome this week. It'll be Cal on Wednesday, Stanford Saturday. And so an opportunity, those teams are both like right around 100 at KenPom. So an opportunity at home with these schools traveling across the country to get to 6-1 in ACC play. What would you like to see like over the course of the next week? How do the Tar Heels continue to build on what has not been, obviously, as we talked about earlier, a standout season so far, but where they're doing enough to start getting some wins now?
I want to see our death lineup. I want to see it. I want to see our 5 best players on the court. I don't think that there's enough post play in college basketball that it's going to hurt us. I want to see our death lineup. I want to see Ian, Drake, RJ, Seth, and Elliot. I want to see our death lineup, and I want to see us run. I want to see us go. So that would be the thing that I would love to see at least once. I don't know if that's possible or not possible. I mean, I'm sure that you could insert Withers in there for a little bit of size and rebounding, but like
instead of Drake,
pick whoever you want.
Sure, sure.
I would say that the 3 guards probably have to be in there, and then Ian, I guess. So yeah, instead of Drake, but like pick your poison, Drake or Withers. Like I want to see that. I want to see us really get out and impose our will, because we are not an inside team. And Jay Wash had a great game, but like I would love to see us say like, this is how we're going to impose our will. We are going to run you to death. We're going to make it so uncomfortable for you. We're going to space the floor. We're going to shoot the ball. We're going to attack out of every closeout. Like I would love to see that. And make or miss for Drake, Seth, and Elliot, the guys that you don't want to bet my life on with. I don't care. Like, I really don't care. Like, let it rip, truly. And like, give me 3 minutes of that. Give me 4 minutes of that. Give me a TV timeout stretch and let me see it on film once. And then
keep going. Sorry.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that was literally my next question is how long can you run that group at one time?
Just let me see it for a TV timeout. Let me see if this is something that, people, because I think when you roll it out there, it has to be, in spurts, and it can't be something where everybody knows you're getting it from the 8-minute to the 4-minute where you can, build your substitution pattern off of it. I think it's got to be one thing that you hit people with like once or twice a half, and you don't know when it's coming, and you get guys and you just go and you say, you know what, we're going to impose our will on this game. And I think that group could do it. I think it has to be a mindset of like, we are going to be absolute hell to deal with in this 4-minute stretch. And like, we're going to go.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I love the point about element of surprise in the same way, like a run and jump, or, just like a 2-3 or a 1-3-1 or something, just right out of a made basket or whatever.
Yeah.
Just
like second free throw, like in between the first and second free throw, like put two of them that you have out in there. And instead of going, if you're bringing back Drake and, Seth or something like that, instead of bringing, leaving Jay Wash out there or something else, like pull them and see what it looks like. Like put it in a stretch where you can't be subbed out really quickly, and you can hopefully keep it going like this and see what it looks like on film. Because I think the first time people see it, like, I don't think I've watched enough college basketball this year where I feel really confident that not a lot of teams are going to be like, you know what we really want to do? We want to post Ben Middlebrooks like 8 times in a row and be like, you know what, this is what I just don't think so. So
yeah.
I would love to see that look. Like, that would be something I'd really like to see. We're going to be at home. Like, there's no better place to do it. And to me, I think that's the change up pitch that we haven't seen, that is in the back pocket, that, I don't know how long it survives against the better teams and like the bigger players, but like, I think you got to be able to know if you can throw that pitch or not.
Yeah. And today felt like a game where it's a pitch that would have been effective, to use that same baseball analogy today.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, thank you so much for joining us on this. If you have not checked out, as we said earlier, Mark's Substack, lowmanhelp.substack.com. This thing is crazy, man. It's got over 100 NBA personnel that are subscribed to it, including 10 GMs, 5 former and current head coaches. Mark, just basically what he's out here doing is trying to provide the best content for serious basketball fans where you want to grow and learn more. No agenda, just sharing what his eyeballs see, just like he does here on the postcast. It's great stuff, and he does it in a fun and engaging way. So if you're into basketball and you want to learn more, Low Man Help is the place for you. Check it out to see what the league reads, what the league watches, and what the league is listening to. Man, Mark, thank you for putting out that great content for us, buddy.
Man, what an ad read. God, can I,
right?
what do I pay you for this? Man,
just love and
the check.
And when you're picking a 3-point shooter for me, please make it somebody really awesome.
Yeah, you didn't ask that question back. That was wild.
I know. I wanted to.
You value your life too much.
I wanted to save it for like the next show, so I can have one for you cooked up.
Okay. All right. Cool.
But we'll answer it. Who of those 3?
No. I like you too much. I would never.
All right. Fair. Let's go. All right, gang. Hey, a win is a win is a win. We will take it, and we will run from whatever PNC is called now, the Lenovo Center. We'll run back to Chapel Hill and get some rest before Cal comes to town on Wednesday. If you haven't subscribed to the show, man, go ahead and do so right now. Help us get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube in the first 3 years of the show. We got about a month and a half to do it, and we're like 400 away. Come on, let's make this happen. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, that link is in the show notes, or the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders, where you can go deep, have one-on-one conversation with me, and perks like access to all of my stats and charts and data. You guys know the drill. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be back together on Monday, but until then, Mark, you know the deal. Peace.